Thank you so much, Chris, and it was good to see you again. And thank you to everyone that has joined me on this panel. It is a Friday night in Europe, so I appreciate you all being here to talk about the DeFi space and the community. And we have a very cool panel. All of these faces are new faces to me. So we've got Jacobo Messiah from Nailwal, Sandeep Nailwal from Matic Network, Jordi Bayline from Hermes, and Jacob Czepluch from Radar Network. I hope I pronounced everyone's names correctly. But everyone, first of all, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure to talk about this. And we've been talking about DeFi all day. And Jacobo, you just had your keynote as well. So I can imagine you being slightly exhausted. But this is the best time to be speaking about this booming industry that we are seeing. We're seeing that DeFi is booming, but the Ethereum space and it's facing congestion issues, and that's really what we're talking about today, is some of the scaling issues that we're seeing and also how we see the industry going forward. And I want to start, and I would like to start with you, Jacob, and just kind of go around and just look at, first of all, the question, the DeFi space and the potential that it has. Do you think DeFi will find another home before Ethereum 2.0?
It must do it, because otherwise it's not going to cut it, right? I mean, Ethereum 2.0, first of all, doesn't have a clear delivery date, and I'm sure that if anybody would use Google, would probably come up with a bunch of answers from person X, Y, and Z giving interviews saying that Ethereum 2.0 is about to happen. But again, that is just an opinion. So we ought to, for example, look at the mathematical implementation of what they're doing. That is not going to cut it. And point number two, the ETA is just clearly, is impossible to guess when that is going to be ready. So for DeFi to keep on growing, yes, we do need a different platform on which it can be built.
Okay, different platform. And now, Jacob, because you've got very similar names there as well. So, Jacob, what's your thoughts? Do you agree with some of the points? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my thoughts are quite similar. I also think that I think a lot of people have the idea that ETH 2.0 will be like the holy grail for everything, scaling whatsoever. I don't necessarily think that's true either. And as Jacobo says, there's no clear ETA either. So I think the best thing we can do is focus as much as possible on all these layer 2 solutions, because we will still need them on ETH 2.0 anyway. So yeah, that's from my perspective, all the research, all the work we put into the current layer 2 solutions will still be needed in the future as well.
Mm-hmm. And still have some benefit to the industry as a whole. Thank you so much for those points. Sandy, what are your thoughts? And are you in agreement with the two gentlemen that we've heard so far?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I definitely don't feel that, there will be a new, DeFi apps will need new home apart from Ethereum. Like, I think, the Ethereum and I agree more with I think Jacob, is that, with Ethereum and the layer 2 solutions. And of course, I come from you can think of, I'll come from a biased background because I am, a co-founder at, layer of coming very soon, and kind of the liquidity that we have on Ethereum already, it's very, very hard to replicate that level of liquidity onto other platforms, other competitive blockchains. And I think layer 2 in the meanwhile, by the time when ETH 2.0 comes in, layer 2 is definitely will come to the rescue. And then even after that, the kind of adoption or kind of craze we have seen on Ethereum with this whole DeFi wave, I think that even if ETH 2.0 comes in, the whole of easily a large number of shards can be consumed only by DeFi itself. And then you need more scalability for other business activities like gaming, NFTs, and various different kind of other use cases. I think for that, layer 2 will always be relevant. But then I feel that for this DeFi and then having these billions and billions of dollars, I think you need credible blockchain, and it's very hard for for any other blockchain to capture that in a near future. I find it very highly unlikely that any other chain apart from Ethereum will be able to capture like the leading position. Of course, there will be some adoption in some of the other chains, but I don't feel that anybody will be able to replace Ethereum with that. Yeah.
And very interesting point. And we'll get to that a little bit later on in the panel, whether there's some newcomers that might come onto the space and really rattle the cages and just kind of shake up the industry, as we're seeing with Ethereum and this scaling issue that we are seeing. And Jordi, what is your thoughts on this as well, just as an overview before we jump in? Are you in agreement with the other gentleman we've heard from?
Well, I'm a little in disagreement on them. I think that, yeah, so Ethereum will take whatever it takes. Ethereum 2.0 will take whatever it takes. But I think the layer 2 solutions and Ethereum 2 solutions will converge to a single thing. In layer 2, right now, we are solving very much what's the proof of computation. So we are doing all these with all these zero knowledge, succinct zero knowledge, snarks, starks. We can verify a lot of transactions actually to the infinity, and Ethereum 2.0 at the stage 2 will bring the data availability, and both things are required and are needed to scale. So I think that, and if you see, for example, the last little bit what we have been talking in the last month, we see that Ethereum now is focusing a lot in the layer 2, and the two paths, they are not as different. So layer 2s and Ethereum 2.0 at some point will become together, and we don't know when. We don't know if something else will happen. This is crypto, but I think it's a right path, and we see a clear path in that direction from the Ethereum perspective.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really interesting point, because what you're saying actually is slightly different to our other panelists as well, when we say that actually for the scalability and the growth of the DeFi space, is there concerns that actually this will slow down, in your opinion, Jordi, because of what we are seeing, this hold on from Ethereum?
Excuse me?
Are you saying that actually, just in conclusion to your point, that this is really the only alternative that we are seeing from Ethereum moving forward? There isn't really much room to grow.
I think it's the path we are, and right now, at least from my point of view, is the only path, the only real path we have. All these layer 2 solutions, all these roll-up solutions are very interesting, but they are still early stage. We need to develop them and launch them and see how this really scales. And Ethereum is doing also his job. So it's a matter of time that this goes together. Another point that's important is just replicating. I think somebody already mentioned, but replicating another Ethereum different platform is quite hard. Ethereum has been very stressed, has been attacked a lot of times, has been developed a lot of times, and for another chain just to reach this maturity that Ethereum has is hard. We also agree that Ethereum, well, it has a lot of history on there, so it's also hard to maybe to grow, and you cannot grow faster because if you want the value that Ethereum has, and this makes the things not go as fast as if you have a small chain where you can risk a little bit more. And finding these balances and the right path, this is what we are working on in some way.
So if I ask you then about the kind of Ethereum alternatives and the newcomers to the space that we are seeing, like Polkadot and Cosmos, you think that actually that they're not going to be able to contend with what we're seeing from Ethereum so far?
Well, I think those systems probably, if you asked me 3 years ago, I would say yes, Cosmos, Polkadot, this is the right way to go. This is probably the only way we knew that was possible 3 years ago. This is mainly what these things has been developing in the last 3 years. But this new technology, this amazing technology that's this zero knowledge that allows to verify. Somebody just with a big computer just computes, just verifies the transactions, but then everybody in the consensus layer, they just can verify it very fast, and they can verify this proof very fast, and this is quite new if you see in the history of the blockchain, and this is a breakthrough. So this is, and if I'm more confident, I think the solution is much more easy, much more cleaner, these new layer 2 solutions. I'm not saying I do not have a crystal ball, so I don't know what will happen actually, but I think this is simple. It's a simple solution, layer 2s, so rollups are quite simple in theory, and it's just a matter of just building them and putting them on the mainframe, and this should scale, at least theoretically, maybe 2 orders of magnitude of what we have right now in the current blockchains.
And Jacob, I'd like to go to you now and just ask what you think of Jordi's perspective there, because we've discussed some of the new and emerging alternative to Ethereum, and Jordi's given his insights. Do you agree with some of the points that he's made there?
I think that we're going to need at least 2 more hours and a few beers to discuss in detail with Jordi. So Jordi, with all due respects, I concur with some of the elements that you have mentioned. So definitely layer 2s have come to stay, and layer 2s do provide the right approach towards fixing scalability issues. I strongly disagree with embedding rollups on the base layer. I agree with the point you have made that it's absolutely pointless to look at any other blockchain right now from a DeFi standpoint. But rollups by themselves, they're flawed. So they are going to scale the base layer just a little bit, but that is given that, for example, all transactions within a block come from a rollup, right? And we know that is never going to happen either. So I do believe that rollups can be very interesting indeed. I think that whoever has been following Vitalik's narrative the last few months has gone from, yes, we're going to deliver soon, to, it's going to perform so many transactions, to a different number. But if you break down the narrative he has been using, he has gone towards the point whereby they're looking at embedding rollups on the base layer for Ethereum 2.0. And architecturally speaking, that is a fundamental mistake, and is only going to shoot themselves in the foot. But I think we're jeopardizing, or we're kidnapping the conversation, moving it away from DeFi, if I may. I think that maybe we should be focusing on is how quickly can a third party, any layer 2, can empower any company to build quickly a DeFi solution that, again, fixes the most important problems. So it is futile right now to talk about Ethereum 2.0, because that might be 3 to 5 years away from today.
Mm-hmm. So then when we look at different scalable solutions, is there going to be a one size fits all and a one answer, or are we going to see that actually there's different solutions and different approaches and different specialized solutions for different approaches then? And do you think that's something that we'll need to see to speed the process up?
So I'm a big fan of competition, right? And I do think that this space is lacking innovation. And yeah, I know that some people might strongly disagree with me. So there is a lot of PhD grade mathematical innovation on papers. That seems to be like a huge percentage of the industry spends too much time in the dark room doing mathematics and coming up with overly complicated solutions. Then somebody builds something, and then the next thing that happens is that everybody forks the code and gives it a different catchy name that hopefully the crypto Twitter would love to talk about, to project themselves as highly intelligent, although they don't understand what it means. But in reality, we have been writing software for a long time. So none of what is being done here is new. And the concept is quite simple, ship early, ship often. So what you need to do is just build the damn thing, take it out to market, sell it, make sure that people can actually buy it because you fix the real problems. So 90% of what I see in this industry is just highly theoretical, but somebody has to build a damn thing, and that's what we did.
Well, I probably agree, but probably I'm not so drastic. So I think that there is a lot of people that's building, and it's you need the research, you need the people that just take this that understand the research and convert in a product, and then you need to build products, and then you need business. So I probably there is some bias, but I think it's a natural bias. Here we are in a new technology, so it's easy to find people that just go in the cutting edge. But the industry needs to go far behind. But I think this starts happening. I think there is a lot of people that's trying to build projects. Some of them will succeed, some of them not. But there is a lot of companies and a lot of new talent and a lot of new developers entering into the space, and I would not be so drastically. So I agree mainly in concept, but not as. So I think there is people. It's just coming. Just take its time. But the industry is coming. And the scaling is important.
I agree. I also kind of although there is there needs to be both research and the implementation, but I think the point what Jacob was trying to make is that it's good to have a good mix, let's say 50% or 60% research, 40% implementation. But we have also seen it time and time again that 90% of the the blockchain researchers who want to appear cool and have a Twitter following and all that, 90% of those people actually end up not building a product and have very complicated on the paper model which are very difficult to implement in a production environment. So I think we at Matic, we saw that very early on also, and we were kind of stuck to our vision that okay, we want to build a Plasma and EVM chain, EVM enabled chain, which not only enables, let's say, payment, but also enables some of the other smart contract based use cases, which includes DeFi, gaming, and all that. And I think and we went ahead and built it rather than multiple times changing it. We could have 8 months back, we could have also moved to, let's say, roll-ups, because roll-ups started picking up a lot of hype in the market, right? But then you can keep doing it every I think 6 months 6 months back it was roll-up, now it's ZK roll-ups, and they appear more interesting. And I'm pretty sure that looking at the history, in 6 months from now we'll also see one more flavor of layer 2 and things like that. So I mean, definitely the space needs more kind of on the ground productionization of some of the ideas, and kind of testing out things more and seeing them how they work in a network, because building a software and building a network are very, very, but yeah, very, very different things. But completely agree with you, Jordi. There needs to be a balance, there needs to be research also, but then a larger percentage of people should focus on building things also. Yeah.
Here is the one of the things that's when you're in the space that you face is research is continuous. So every there is a paper every week. There is something interesting that happens every week, and to build the product, you need to just cut and say, okay, I'm going to take this technology. I'm gonna forget what's gonna happen in the next 3 months, all the papers, and I'm gonna build that, and I want to run that, and I want to launch that. And this is what I have been. This is probably a personal thing. I've been struggling, in the project that I'm right now in Hermes. I want to launch it. It's I don't care. So it's there are very, very interesting, cool new cryptographic primitives. There is cool new things that are happening. A lot of people is working. A lot of things are happening in the research. But I agree. So it's unless we put things in production, we send it, we risk to launch it, we get the things, it's the industry will not advance. And this is, yes, I agree with you. So that's really important. This must happen, and it's important to in some point break it. Okay, you will do maybe next version, and you will introduce the new cool things that are happening, but that's good at this point and launch. And I think this is important.
So Jordi, I did not mean to be too drastic. I was just trying to be factual, right? Because if you look at all the ICOs and project rates, 99% plus has delivered absolutely fuck all. And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to swear. I will hold myself from it.
I agree with you.
That is that is point number one. And point number two, you give a developer $1 billion, and that developer will happily be in a room full with developers for the rest of his life, building code and shipping nothing.
Agree.
So, and what I'm saying is that there are a lot of gifted heads in this industry that love Twitter and love to come up with absolutely useless papers, because this is not about shipping papers. It comes down to shipping workable code that can solve problems. And hereby, we're talking about an industry that has locked up $11.2 billion, which is a ton of money, and is working on top of a platform that is melting. So, and then you have, Forbes and CNN and all these media's talking about, wow, DeFi must be something really cool. But you open, the car and look at the engine, and it's not that sexy, right? And you look on the right and you see guys in a room writing papers, and you look on the left and you see the other guys on Twitter. But who is building stuff? So yes, I think that factually I can say that there's way too many people talking and too few shipping products.
Yeah. I think the reason is also one like, I'll just come in. Like, the reason is that, previously, like what we saw in 2017, talking this cool shit and writing those research paper, help you raise a ton of money, right? You could raise like 30, 40, $50 million. I think that's what, but now, like with the DeFi thing, I think this wave that we recently saw, the bubble, here people had to build something, like, at least, even if it was a fork, right? They had to show something that, okay, this works and you can, do whatever, lending, borrowing, farming, whatever. But then at least, so I thought that this time it was difficult to, although still few people did exit scams and all that, it was difficult to do that. And also to sustain those, like, dreamy valuations, like you are raising for a product which is only at a research paper stage, and you're raising at a $500 million valuation, raising $100 million for that. So that was not possible in the, like, God help the industry, like it was not possible this time. So that was the good thing, like some sign of maturity.
Okay, I think.
Points.
Sorry, if you don't, Jacob, if you don't mind, I'm clearly not aggressive enough to be on an online panel, it seems. But if you don't mind me jumping in, for actually one of the projects that did raise money 3 years back, I think from our perspective, like, we've been on mainnet for at least 1.5 years by now, almost 2. And I totally agree with what Jordi says. It's important to build stuff, put it on the mainnet with as little risk as possible, but still be willing to put it on the mainnet in order to try and see if you can break it and take it to the next level. And I think that's also what we've seen with Ethereum over and over again. Someone breaking it, starting way back with the DAO and then moving forward, etc. This is just how we need to go in order to take all of this forward, I think. But the approach of building, putting stuff out there, I think is super important. And I totally agree with some of these. There's a lot of stuff going on Twitter, etc. And it feels better to just see projects built and coming out of nowhere every now and then.
Absolutely.
And if we focus now just finally on, because we've got another 20 minutes, and you're right, the conversation's flown very quickly, so I don't want to interrupt too much, but if we look at scaling solutions now and what you think we need to see as a requirement from the industry, what kind of scaling solutions do you think we need to see? What is really required for the space to grow?
Well, right now, just the scale. It's the scale itself. I think that if blockchain is not in the mainstream, mainly, there are other reasons probably, but the main reason is because it does not scale. Right now, you cannot go to buy a coffee in a restaurant because it's too expensive to make a transaction, or it's too centralized on there. So unless we solve the scalability, this goes nowhere. Well, it goes maybe with a set of friends, but it does not go to the mainstream. It does not go to the it does not go to the customer. It will not fulfill the promise that we have with the blockchain. So that's why it's so important to scale it, and that's why so many people is working, is trying that, because at the end it's bringing the blockchain technology to the people. In some ways, the promise that we had maybe in 2016, 2017, maybe now we start to see the light. We are still far away, but I would say that in the upcoming months, maybe years, we will start users, consumers start using crypto in a scale, in a massive way.
Yeah. And for me, on this one, I agree with Jordi. I think if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have thought that by now the world would basically be run, or actually back then I thought that the world now would run almost on blockchain chains entirely. So everything we built, like we focused on Raiden, which is a purely payment solution through payment channels. And where we are at now is that we have this final, or it's not final, but we have this solution on mainnet that works and can be used for payments, but there's not a big need right now for crypto payments. Like the most of crypto as it's used right now, especially on Ethereum, is for DeFi, which most of the time is also contract interactions, but like day-to-day payments where I go to buy a coffee, as Jordi suggested, you don't see that a lot. Whereas like we have a solution that's ready for it, but people are not ready to adopt it. So it's a two-edged problem as we see it, at least.
Yeah, that's a very nice take. I mean, Jacob, on that, because I agree with Jordi that the those number of users need to come into this thing. Like we need to take it to this thing. Like these number of users, but I think the technology, like like Jacob is mentioning about Raiden network. I mean, on Ethereum ecosystem itself, I'm saying that on the layer 2, let's say at Matic also, we have now a highly decentralized EVM chain where you can do payments, smart contracts, whatever, with decentralization. One important part I wanted to mention also is that scaling is very important, but then that also needs to kind of preserve, like when we scale, when we have a scaling solution, and like coming to the main question of Jessica also, that what kind of layer 2 solution should be there. So it's whatever layer 2 solution is there, it should also be able to preserve decentralization, censorship resistance, right, and trustlessness of the system, right? So I mean, it's very easy to build, like we have a lot of like programmers and researchers here, like you would agree that it's very easy to build like 5 or 6 proof of authority system, and then with 5 or 6 validators build a bridge, and then you have a solution ready, and now you can use it. It works absolutely fine, scales and everything. But then does that preserve the basic tenets of this whole revolution, why we came here, right? So but then coming to that, what Jordi was saying, I think the technology is available today. Like as Jacob is saying, on Raiden network, probably you can do like millions of transactions if you wanted to do on payments. Similarly, on Matic network also, like today you have like 7,200 TPS. We have tested it with 120 public validators, right? And you can do smart contracts, various different kind of things, build DeFi. You have DeFi solutions, like like 3 weeks back we had a DeFi solution launch on Matic, and it like in few hours it had like $35 million in TVL and things like that. So definitely the technology for the next stage, I would not say, like I agree that what Jordi is trying to say is that to go to the mass user, I would say that will not happen in one step. It will be always like some stages of growth, then plateau, then growth. So I think the next stage of growth, or getting the next I think 1 million users into the business, I think, like overall, I'm not saying 1 million users per app. I'm saying overall, like 1 million daily active users on various dApps and all that, for payments and all that. I think for that, we have some level of technology available. It just needs to be tested at that scale. So I think for that level of growth, there is technology available, I think, I would say.
So I will make a quick statement about what you just said, Sandeep. And this is something that we have at NAMI, we have compromised deliberately, and is that we're not censorship resistant. And if you pay attention to the title of the presentation about being, if DeFi is ever going to become mainstream, the only way it will become mainstream is if a public financial company can actually build a solution, a DeFi solution on top of a blockchain. And to do that, they will need to be able to KYC, AML, and apply some really basic rules to their customers. Otherwise, it's never going to be mainstream. So again, when it comes down to scalability, we have carefully thought through those unique selling points that a layer 2 must have. And yet we did plenty of research on the solution. I am not saying that you don't need to do research in this space. This space is utterly complex. But yeah, the most important is to build something, ship it early, and make sure that obtains a market fit. And equally important, that is also very interesting. What is the business model of these layer 2 solutions?
Yeah.
That is that also be thought about.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And recently I was talking with someone, and one thing that was very clear, and I think I should have been more kind of more elaborative on my idea. There is no solution, like one solution fits all for all the approaches, right? So I mean, you will need these experimentation, like you said, that you guys thought that okay, they will need KYC, AML, and all that. So they might not. There might be, this solution might not be censorship resistant, but it preserves the trustless and kind of decentralized execution of code, and that is perfectly fine, right? We need to see that for product market fit. Like once it goes into the market, then only we get to know, and then definitely this is this could be a very good solution for large enterprises, and that will bring in like millions and millions of users. So, but again, coming back to all the things, like all of these are like experiments, and product market fit will be only known when the product goes to market. And that's why more and more shipping should be there. Yeah, we agree with that.
Yeah, let me just say that censorship resistant should be decided by the user, not by the system. So I want a system where you choose what censorship resistant you want. So if I'm a company and I want to run a system where I want some sort of protection, so with just maybe just going back, you program those rules and you choose to go to those rules, and that's great, and that's fine. But this is something that should be programmable in some way, so each user has their own needs, and this should be chosen by the users of the network, not by the underneath technology that's behind. The underneath technology should be more neutral, so should be something that you just built on top. I know that's it's another debate, but that's my vision there.
The answer is simple. So the technology is built there. Has been in mainnet for 23 months. It comes down to, if a bank wants to build on top of it, then the bank can apply those business rules, and that is the only way that any blockchain solution will ever become mainstream. And
I think you make it very philosophical now. Like,
really?
I mean, to some extent, from my perspective, this like having permissionless systems is a very important move in the direction that is one of the reasons why I got into blockchain, because I see it as this technology that we can use to change the world of the financial system, the way that the financial systems work now. And if we're not willing to at least jump on board with some of these experiments, we'll never find out if it will work or not. So, I mean, you have probably a bit more of a realistic view, but I think we have to be willing to try these experiments to see if we can make the financial world a better world. And that's where I truly believe that we have to go for trust, like for permissionless, trustless, decentralized solutions as much as we can. And I can see your point as well, but it gets a bit philosophical here, I think.
So, Jacob, I concur with everything you have said, and by no means I'm trying to open up a philosophical debate. You have touched upon a few interesting points. One of them is that, for example, our solution is trustless. So yes, we have made some compromises, which we call pragmatic points we have made. So you have touched upon another one, which is decentralization, and that is definitely the most philosophical of all points, right? So whoever wants to say that, for example, Ethereum is fully decentralized, well, you still have a bunch of guys that will favor always specific projects because they made them extra rich, right, during an ICO, and they have been supporting them publicly, and now they're embedding parts of their code into the base layer. So is decentralized? Well, just, let's not get into that. So what we have done is build a solution that, yes, today runs on a center node. We have a clear path towards that kind of decentralization. The governance is definitely going to be decentralized. However, if you want to use it for a DeFi with no KYC ML, be my guest, you can do it. But if you're a bank and you would like to do something more following the existing regulations, then you can do it. Because whoever thinks that regulation is going to change because a blockchain developer came up with this really cool concept, then that guy needs to get a reality check.
Well,
just a final point there, just because I know this conversation could bounce back and forward for quite a while, and I really value everyone's insights. I do want to quickly go back to the title just before we round off. So it is recalling the next DeFi wave. We have seen kind of the 2020 boom in this industry that we have recorded. The next wave, what kind of scaling solution do you think will support the wave, if it's going to come, and when do you think it will come into play? And I'd like each of you to answer your thoughts.
Like, I can start. I'm very biased here. I'm just working in a roll-up solution. So personally, I think this is the way to go, at least right now with the technology that we know, and this is the right path to go. But again, I do not have a crystal ball. I do not know what will happen, and maybe appears other technology that looks superior. So that's great. That's a space.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from my end, what I feel is that those technologies are going to be helpful. One, which are like developer friendly, because there are a lot of Ethereum developers, like 90 to 95% of all the blockchain developers feels like everyone develops on. Like, I'm talking about the application level developers, not the protocol ones. They are all mostly Ethereum developers. So the kind of technology or kind of layer 2 solutions which are easy for them to use, and that will get a good amount of, that can get some good amount of adoption. And of course, like we also mentioned, that the developer tooling and the maturity of Ethereum is like really important, and due to that only Ethereum is able to have these network effects. And for any other blockchain, any other new blockchain, like, there is no easy path. They have to go inorganically. Ethereum has been attacked, wallets have been attacked, and people have lost more than around $1 billion in just using these hacks. I think one of the single hack only had like 350, like that, not hack, like the multi-sig wallet, parity multi-sig wallet, bombing. So basically, I mean, there is no inorganic path to that. In fact, like the developer documentation, for example, right? There is no no matter how much dollars you have, like even if EOS had $4 billion, you can't have that in a short amount of time. That takes time and rigorous development by the developers to use. So any layer 2 solution which has which kind of is able to piggyback on all of these things, like the network effects, the developer network effects of the Ethereum tooling and all that, would make more sense. And I think I can say from my experience with Matic, we are experiencing a huge amount of adoption, already in 3 months of launch, like 50+ applications on Matic and things like that. So, and 20 to 40,000 transactions every day. The reason is that developers find it easier to build on, and plus all these securities and all that stuff that we build, like be it rollups, be it state channels, or like the Plasma like solutions that we have built. All these kind of security and the high tech parameters should be abstracted away from the developers, and developers should have like freedom to develop and ease of development. That system will get a lot of adoption. And yeah, I mean that's my opinion.
I'll go next. Okay, I think I think it depends a lot on the specific use cases. Like what we've seen now, if we look at the current like DeFi wave, it would definitely be solutions like rollups that allow for smart contract logic, I think. But at the same time, there are also more specialized solutions like what we do with payment channels, etc. And I think it depends a lot on what the trend will be for the next DeFi wave or whatever. Like it's also a bit of a weird word to say, a DeFi wave in my mind. But if the next DeFi wave will be pure ERC20 token transfers, then something like Raiden is very good off. But if it's pure yield farming, like it's just been now, then something that can represent smart contract logic will be the solution. But ideally, I see a mix. Like there will be specialized solutions for specialized cases. So that's what I think we will see, and hopefully a variety of solutions.
Fantastic. And finally, we've got Jacobo. What's your thoughts?
So my thoughts are really two. One of them is that maybe we shouldn't be talking about the future. We should be talking because the future is here today, right? So we're facing this phenomenal market, and Ethereum once again is not ready. So what we should be focusing on is getting our products out and letting developers build on top of them right now. Now we talk about, or if you want me to answer about the future, I would like to hope that the future will be based on what the customer wants, and that's the only way you can build software. You build what people want. Again, you cannot build on a vacuum. You need to build early, or build quick and ship early, get feedback, and then have your product ready. So otherwise, we'll always play in catch-up game, right? So what I would like to see is more people building solutions, having more competitors than Ami, having a healthy ecosystem whereby Bob, Alice, and Carol can easily pick up your SDK and get on cranking and building the next product that will bring 1 million users to the blockchain, not 38,000 bloody wallets per month.
And that's actually a very nice end to the discussion and a final call to action. But just finally there, you did mention throughout this conversation that you'd been doing some research yourself and looking into this. So if you look at what the customer really wants, and you mentioned some call to action research there, has there been any findings that you're able to share with our viewers today that maybe will inspire some of the developers and organizations that are watching and that are in this industry?
Well, we do study what is out there every day or every week at least, and probably what has caught our attention the most these last few months is rollups, right? So for I don't know, maybe I've got the opportunity to debunk a little bit what rollups are, but what rollups do is just they take a bunch of transactions and bundle them, and then they put them into an Ethereum block, right? So that's what they say they can scale to 2,000 or 3,000 transactions per second. Now, that is all fine and true, but has got a few bullet points or a few, items that ought to be explained. That is, if you get the entire bloody Ethereum block and you fill it up only with rollup transactions, which first of all is never going to happen. Second, that is also true, but only for the simple transactions, which are payments. The moment you want to have more complex transactions, then it will take more space. Therefore, you will not be able to bundle those 2,000 transactions in a block, right? So I really don't understand how much of all this research that is being done by these super intelligent people, but they seem to be missing the point that rollups is just not the solution. It doesn't really matter who says that. It's just not the solution.
Can I just say something here? Is the trick here is that in a block, you can put as many transactions as you want, at least theoretically. You can put 1 million transactions in a block, but you need that availability. And for that availability, here is where Ethereum 2.0 comes.
But Jordi, using that statement, we could go to the other fucking end of the universe in a nanosecond. We just need our bodies that can support the speed at which we're going to travel. So, that is a disconnect in there.
Yeah, but the limit is not the layer one. So that's the point. So there are a lot of limits that you need to build the systems, and that's a thing. But the trick is that the technology, so the limits are computational limits of how many transactions you can put in a single block. So in a single transaction, in a single proof, you can put as many as you want theoretically. There are some limits, but they are not the layer one. There are others on there. We'll see. That's the only thing I can say.
If you're a new developer or a new user coming into the DeFi ecosystem, I would say just subscribe to the Ryan Sean Adams Bankless, Bankless Substack. Like he often has a weekly newsletter where you can kind of learn and more about DeFi. And go to his previous post, also phenomenal post. I think apart from that, I would say that Paradigm and Dragonfly guys put out a lot of good stuff on DeFi, so you can go to that also. And then if you are a user, you can start with videos of DeFi Dad, right? DeFi Dad is like really cool. He makes very simple videos for early users. So if you are a user, like new user into DeFi, go to DeFi Dad and see his YouTube videos. I think that would be most helpful to you guys.
Fantastic. That's a really nice end to the discussion. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm sorry that we did have to cut it short because it feels like it could have gone on the conversation for a lot longer. Thank you all for your insights. I'm sure our viewers learned a lot. It was a great discussion. And I'd love to do a follow-up with you all sometime soon and see how the industry is faring out. But thank you all so much for your time today. I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.